Welcome to the Biz Doctor Podcast, my love letter to business owners the world over. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, award-winning business consultant and advisor fondly nicknamed the Biz Doctor by my clients. I help business owners who are burning the candle at both ends diagnose what is actually keeping them buried in the day-to-day busy work, and then formulate a treatment plan to adjust their business and team to fit them, so they can take a breath and a vacation and have more fun making a bigger impact than ever. So grab your favorite beverage and your earbuds, and let's dive into our latest episode. Speaking from experience as a business owner myself and working with business owners for the past 13 years, one of the hardest shifts I've seen entrepreneurs go through is the one of an operator to a leader. Going from the person doing all the things, or what I lovingly call the chief everything officer, to the owner and leader of the business is only a mindset shift away. This line of demarcation is crucially important in the growth cycle of a business for many reasons. And the top being that until you master this, you don't have a business. You have a job masquerading around like a business. My apologies if that truth bomb stung, but stick around. I promise this episode is going to be one that supports you in more ways than one as you navigate the somewhat stormy seas of being a business owner. And if on the off chance you're listening and not a business owner, don't worry, this episode has lots of golden nuggets about leadership for you too. Welcome back to the Biz Doctor Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, and I am so excited about today's episode because I see a lot of business owners fumble the ball on the 1-yard line because they don't fully understand what their job as CEO and leader truly is. What is your number one job as a leader? You ready for this? To create other leaders. Now, if it sounds too simple, that's okay. But I truly believe that the one thing we can do as leaders for those that work with us is to help develop them into other leaders. Leaders who are critical thinkers, able to forward project, and dare I say, predict success. Or maybe potholes, who are autonomous, engaged, and collaborative. The reason I say this is your number one role as a leader is because if you are the business owner and you are not empowering your team and surrounding yourself with leaders who embody your core values, are aligned around your vision and inspired by their goals and roles, then you will be perpetually stuck as the bottleneck, both in decision-making and problem-solving. And that is not a fun place to be. If you want to have what I call true entrepreneurial freedom and build a business that is a portfolio asset that makes an impact, mastering this subtle but critical mindset shift is the key to unlock that next level. The secondary role of a leader is your ability to share the vision and influence others to willingly follow your direction. What I mean is this: if you have a business and goals, but no one is aligned, inspired, and willingly working for you, then you will have an uphill battle going forward. So the key here is to become the best communicator you can be and know your team like the back of your hand so you can support them in their dreams, challenges, goals, and help them be as successful as possible. When you develop them, when you can clearly articulate and inspire, and they in turn catch fire, that is where the business and team magic happens. Now I want to talk a little bit about the difference between a manager and a leader. One of my dear friends defined it this way, which might spark something in you. One you follow because you have to, the other you follow because you want to. Ooh, I don't know about you, but when he told me that, I got corporate flashbacks, and I think there's some truth to what he said. But I also don't fully agree. Partially because if you have a manager that people begrudgingly listen to and follow, that person should not be managing or leading. And here's a piece of data to back that up. DDI conducted a workplace study in February 2024 and found that 57% of people have quit because of their boss, and 37% reported that they've considered leaving because of their manager. Over half of people quit because of their boss. Holy smokes. To me, that says a lot about why this is such an important skill to master. And honestly, I think that number might be even higher in what I would call players. You've heard me say it before, players versus worker bees. If you haven't, go listen to that podcast episode because this is a very important thing to understand. Players are those superstar teammates who just make everything better. They won't tolerate mediocrity in anything, especially not in someone that is directly impacting their ability to be successful as they can be. So they're just going to leave. And if you want a successful business, you can't afford to lose really great people. To put a bit more of a point on this, to me, being a manager is determining what to do, and leading is determining why you do it. In this frame, a leader who doesn't manage is clueless, and a manager who doesn't lead won't have anybody follow them. Which means, so listen in close, if you want to be an effective CEO, you have to be both. You have to be masterful at managing the what, the goals, and the why you do it, the vision, the impact your business has not only on your customer, but your team. To put it another way, according to McKinsey & Company, 70% of employees find their life's purpose inside their job. So you want to make sure that you understand who they are, why they're working for you, what goals they have, and be that manager and leader. All right, now a few rapid fire insights into what makes a good manager. What makes a good manager is someone who deals in goals, not tasks. If you are all about the tasks, then you become a micromanager, and no one wants that. To that point, someone who can clearly communicate the goal and make sure that they and their team are aligned. If you've been listening to me for a while, you've heard me say that unshared expectations are nothing more than premeditated resentments, and it bears repeating here. Your team and you have to be aligned. You have to be clear, and you have to have the same expectations of what success actually is. In fact, here's another metric for you. 42% of employees choose unclear goals as their top stressor at work. Second, empower your team to make mistakes, problem solve, and figure it out so they develop and build confidence. Going back to number one, you're building leaders, and confidence helps with that. So what this means is you might know how to solve the problem and want to jump in and fix something, but it is much better to teach, coach, and support them so that they can start doing it without you. So what that means in a little bit more specific sense is focus on the end result, but detach from the specifics of the actions needed to get there. Instead, rely on the expertise of your team to find the best way to accomplish that goal. Just like tiny humans learning to walk, your team will learn much more by working their way through it than by you rescuing them. Third, shift from feedback to feed forward. I actually learned this from Joel Trammell, author of CEOs. And what I really love about this is it helps them with their future success by giving them feed forward about how to improve in the future. So using feed forward, what the heck does that mean? I didn't know what this means either, so let me explain. Here's the truth. We can't change the past, and your employees can't change the past either, but they can change the future. So positive solutions for the future is where we want to focus rather than critical assessments of the past. That's not to say that we're sweeping things under the rug. We're just phrasing it differently. In the future, do X, Y, Z. And what this does is it builds psychological safety and a growth mindset. Now, I'm sure you're asking, but what the heck about feedback? What do we use that for? It's still there. We just do it a little bit differently now. So great performance should be celebrated and remembered. So use feedback for positive observations from the past and use feed forward on the negative. Here's an opportunity to really lean in and flex management versus leadership. Now I want to talk a little bit about motivation, understanding how to motivate and what motivates your team. A lot of us think that people are just really highly motivated by money. Some are, most aren't. In fact, the top 6 motivators are achievement, recognition, work itself, responsibility, advancement, and growth. I'm going to add a seventh in here. I really think something that motivates a team to be more successful and do better work is trust, knowing that you trust them. Things that demotivate your team: company policies and administration that don't make sense or cause friction, supervision, relationship with their supervisor, work conditions, salary, and peer relationships. No surprise there, but just like the metrics that I shared before, your relationship with them and how you manage them are big things that can either motivate or demotivate. This also includes getting personal with them. Check in about other things besides their performance. Their well-being is paramount too. Asking something like, anything I can do as your manager to make your personal life easier? Or my personal favorite, is there anything I'm doing as your manager that is causing friction or frustration in your role? Because at the end of the day, I believe most people want to do a good job and they want to be successful. And me, as a leader and manager, I want to know if there's something happening with how I'm being with them and the company and our policies, etc., that is causing them to either not be successful or frustrated or, the worst, resent me or their role. So the more you're able to have that open dialogue, the better leader and manager you'll be. Now, I have a whole keynote about the mental health of teams, which you guys know that I'm very, very passionate about. It's more specifically building happier, healthier, and more resilient teams. And I want to touch about it, and I want to touch on that a little bit right now. Here are the things that I found that will inspire and motivate your team most, in addition to the list that I just mentioned. Involve them in changes like you would a change order. So if you're not in construction, the change order thing might not make sense. But essentially what I'm saying here is people want to be included. Now, I can hear you already saying, but I'm the boss, or they don't need to know about it. Well, yes and no. At the end of the day, you are the boss and you make the decisions. However, people want to know that you've considered their opinion. They want to at least feel like they were involved. Because the thing that will demotivate someone so fast is getting blindsided. So you want to ask yourself when you're making decisions, how will this decision impact my A players? Because that's who you really want to keep happy and keep in the team. Ask yourself, how much do they need to know? How much input do I need to consider for them to feel like they are part of the change? The other reason this is really, really important is because if they're involved in a change from the beginning, they're going to be far less resistant to it. Next, make sure you tie their job back to their goals. This is a blind spot I see with a lot of leaders where they focus on how their employees help them achieve an XYZ business goal, which is great. And there's also an opportunity here to help your team understand how working with you, making the impact they do, is going to help them with personal and professional goals, whether it's buying a house or starting a family or giving to charity. Help tie it back to their goals so that they can see that they're part of something bigger. The next one is really to determine how they're motivated. Again, some people are motivated by money, some people are motivated by recognition. It just depends. But it's kind of like a love language. You want to know how they're motivated so that you can acknowledge them in a way that really lights them up. And this is one of my favorites. Create a culture and environment that values deep work, not busy work. The reason this is one of my favorites is because this is a shift from a lot of doing and firefighting and reactive work to saying, no, what actually is the priority here? What is important and urgent that we just get to go a mile deep and an inch wide on? You will get far more accomplished with yourself and your team if you can value that deep work, not just the surface level busy work. I use the analogy with my clients of being a laser and not a flashlight. Last but not least, find the love. I know this sounds maybe a little woo, but keep with me here. Marcus Buckingham is a world-renowned researcher on human behavior, and he said the most successful, happy, and resilient teams had one big correlation. They love the work that they do. Now, here's the surprising thing. They don't love 100% of the work they do. It's just 20%. That's the magic percentage of the work that they do that they love. Now, he goes on to tell the story, which I love, so I will share this story with you, about how when he was doing this research, he discovered this. So he asked Disney, hey, I want you to give me your top 5 housekeepers. I want to see what separates them from everyone else. And he started asking them, what do you love about your job? And the first one, she goes, you know what I really love? I love seeing those perfect marks on the carpet. And so I am making the marks, and then I hop out and the room looks perfect. He goes on to the next person and says, what do you love about your job? And she goes, I love laying on the bed after I finish cleaning a room. And he's like, wait, hold on. It clearly says here in the handbook, you are not supposed to lay on the bed. What are you doing? And she said, this is the moment that I look from the customer's perspective, because the first thing they do is the last thing I do. So they're going to come in their room, probably exhausted from traveling, and they're going to lay on the bed and they're going to look up at the ceiling. And if they look up at the ceiling and the ceiling fan's dirty, or there's a spider on the ceiling or something, they're going to think their room isn't clean. I go and I lay in the bathtub and I see what they see. So I make sure that I clean it in a way that's very effective so they know they have a clean room. And so she said, that's what I love. I love at the end of cleaning a room, I lie on the bed and I make sure that it is pristine. And he's like, this is wild. Okay. And then this was my favorite one. The third one, she said, I love making scenes. And he's like, what are you talking about? She said, I love taking their little animals, because they're at Disney World, right? I love taking their animals and making scenes. So when the kids come back, they think that their little plush toys have had an adventure. So I'll take Mickey and Minnie and I'll put a remote in Mickey's hand and I'll put Minnie's hand in like a little thing of popcorn. Or, I'll put Pluto over here on the window looking out. And I love arranging these scenes and entertaining the kids. Now, what you can take away from this is every single one of those people had the exact same job description, yet every single one of them had a completely different reason they loved their job, and they put their own personal touch on this. And that's really where the deep work comes in as leaders. It is your job to not only support your team being in the right seat, but helping them find and do that 20% that they love and building the right team for everyone to support their individual 20%. So when you look at your job, your team, your business, etc., ask yourself, what is the 20% I really love? Because let's be honest, CEO, there's stuff we don't love. There's stuff our team doesn't love. But do we have that magical 20%? If the answer is no, I encourage you to go do some soul searching. If the answer is yes, find out how to do more of that. And remember, it doesn't have to be 100%. It just has to be 20%. And it might not even have to be 20% every single day. It just has to be an average. Before we dive into the next bit, I want to take a second to share with you something that I've seen drastically change businesses and teams for the better. Imagine waking up every morning with a team that knows exactly what is expected of them and how to achieve success without you having to micromanage them. Imagine how much time and dollars you will save by hiring the right team member from the start. Not to mention getting the most out of every current member of your team. That is what's possible with our tried and tested tool, the Golden Key Scorecard. The scorecard is a simple, impactful, and fillable tool for managing your team, ditching inefficiency, and I guarantee will help you stop playing whack-a-mole chasing team docs all over the place. It's as easy as filling out a form. If you want to get out from under your business, shifting from business operator to business owner, and take your business to the next level while reclaiming your time, then our Golden Key Scorecard is just the ticket. Our scorecard provides the time-tested framework and process to get you and your team out of the weeds and into a well-oiled machine that can scale without you. It's time for you to run your business instead of the other way around. Become an expert in this critical piece of the foundation to creating a high-performing team. Download the Golden Key Scorecard for free at goldenkeypartnership.com/go. Now back to the show. All right. Now I want to talk about the worst kind of leader. This is actually one of my very favorite topics to talk about because it makes so many light bulbs go off and it also makes you guys giggle. So here we go. Seagull leaders. I actually heard Cameron Harold talk about this, and this was years ago, and it has stuck with me forever. And I've iterated on it a little bit, but essentially a seagull leader is a leader who has an idea du jour, swoops in, shits all over the team, and flies away. Now, let's talk about why that is ineffective. Number one, this keeps your team in a constant state of fight or flight, which, if you know anything about neuroscience in the brain, means their frontal lobe is not working, which means that their critical thinking, their problem solving, heck, even their ability to formulate great sentences is going to be diminished because they're not able to, remember when I talked about deep work a couple minutes ago? They're not able to actually get into deep work because they're fluttering between different tasks, changing priorities, shifting things. And I know I can hear you say, but isn't that the nature of business? Some businesses. My argument is business should be boring. It should be predictable. It should be something that is very much proactive and not reactive. And if you are a seagull leader, stressing out your team, changing timelines, moving targets, moving goalposts, you're just not going to have an effective team because they can't ever get in rhythm and momentum before you pull them out. So one of the ways to combat this is you have a second in command, an executive assistant, chief of staff, someone who you get to create an idea icebox, and they get to triage those ideas as, is this something that's actually important, that is going to move the business forward? Is this a great idea, but for later? Is this a harebrained idea that isn't actually in alignment? The key is really to let your team run and not really interrupt them with the new idea du jour. The second part of being a seagull leader, tell me if this sounds like you. If you've ever seen the movie Finding Nemo and you've got the little seagulls on a rock and they're just going, mine, 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 mine. This is the other kind of leader that is so unsupportive. It's a leader that is equal parts unwilling to delegate and let go. And they also, when they delegate, have a tendency to take back things. Because here's a secret. If you delegate something, stop trying to take it back. Like, your team is never going to learn how to do that thing that you want them to do if you keep swooping in and taking it back. It's like literally a seagull swooping in and stealing someone's sandwich. Don't do it. You've got to master the art of letting go without feeling like you're losing control. There's a lot of identity, mindset, even ego work with that. If you are on one side swooping in and constantly disrupting your team, I also see this. If you know what I do, you know that I specialize in extricating business owners from the weeds. So shifting you from operator into owner so you can have that true entrepreneurial freedom, which generally means white space and time. Now, if we have not done the identity work and detached your sense of purpose and value from the doing and the business, a lot of times a leader will panic and create chaos in the business to feel needed and necessary and swoop back in. Don't do it, guys. Like, you started your business because you wanted to make a difference and solve a problem. Now you got to trust yourself to be a leader that can create leaders and build the right team around you. If both of those triggered you, I get it. Feel free to reach out. We can talk about it. But just do some soul searching about why you started your business. Why are you doing all of this? What is it creating for you, for your family, for your lifestyle? And just ask, is the way that you're leading actually supportive? Because if it's not, you got to change. Because if you want to get to the goals that you want to get to, it is going to take a different version of you, a different version of management, a different version of leadership. Take that for what it's worth. I know it might seem daunting, but it is much better on the other side. Let me tell you how nice it is to have the time and financial freedom to have a bigger impact outside your business. Because somebody asked me the other day, they said, if you could distill down to one sentence what you do for your clients, what would it be? And I said, I give them freedom. And that's what I want for you. I want you to have a business that allows you the freedom that you've been searching for, the freedom to plan your day how you want it to be planned, the freedom to invest in the things that you want to invest in, the freedom to travel or do whatever your heart's calling you to do. Because one thing I know for certain, we were not put on this earth to just work until we die. We were put on this earth so we can have an impact and a life and build those connections. I encourage you to really think about how you are operating as a leader in your business. So to bring it all together, remember, your number one job as a leader is to develop other leaders and effectively communicate the vision and goals of the business in a way that inspires and motivates. All right. That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening in. If anything I shared sparked something in you, I'd love for you to rate and review our show. And of course, share this episode with your fellow business owners, friends, and leaders. I'd also really love hearing from you. So let's connect. Tag or DM me on Instagram at It's Lauren Goldstein or LinkedIn or wherever you hang out on the interwebs. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe so you are the first to get notified when our next episode is live and ready for your ears. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Biz Doctor Podcast. Now, I like to say that friends don't let friends WebMD your business. So if you're wondering what your next steps could be, here are some options for you. No matter what, head to the show notes or to my website, goldenkeypartnership.com, for some impactful resources to support you getting out from under your business. That's also where you'll find the links to learn more about our services and how we support business owners, just like you, who are ready to make the successful jump from business operator in the trenches to visionary business owner with more freedom and flexibility. All of that info is on our website, so pop on over to learn more or get in touch. goldenkeypartnership.com. Finally, if you love the Biz Doctor podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends and network and give us a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This is Story Studio Network.